Good morning and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. Thank you so much for joining me here yet again, and as always, let's get started with the news. And the biggest story of this week, well, it should be the World Championships that happened in Hawaii over the weekend, where the very best players in the world duked it out over several days of Standard and Draft for the most coveted title in Magic. It's one of the most exciting Magic weekends of the year, and I hope you all got to spend some time tuning into that live stream and watching the action. Unfortunately, that World Championship is unlikely to mean all that much to us over here in the world of Magic Online Finance. Not only is Standard an Arena first format, but the event actually took place on Arena, and the entire tournament was something of a showcase for the client. If you were inspired to build a new deck after watching your favorite pro play their hearts out in Hawaii, well, you probably did it over on Arena, which is not going to lead to any interesting price spikes or spec buys over here on Magic Online. That said, the community's focus being elsewhere might mean that it's actually a really good time to buy. The Pioneer market was surprisingly soft this week, more on that a bit later, and if people are focused on Standard over on Arena, it means that prices on MTGO are slipping a bit. Not because key cards are seeing less play, but simply because there are fewer active buyers over here on the client. So while there's no dedicated Modern or Pioneer season, and I can't tell you exactly when these indexes are likely to rebound, I have to believe that both Pioneer and Modern will have at least a handful of serious rallies in 2020. So if you've been holding off on buying a deck, this might be a really good time to pull that trigger. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Pioneer it was Goblin Rabblemaster, jumping 4 tickets from 8 up to 12. This is a bit of a weird one though, because Rabblemaster was actually kicking around up in the 20 to 30 ticket range for a while before its price totally collapsed. It actually ended up bottoming out at 5 tickets early last week. So this rebound back up to 12 was simply a price correction due to the card falling further than it should, and it appears to be stable in this 10 to 15 ticket range now. You can buy Rabble-Masters if you want, but I wouldn't expect any further gains. The only other Pioneer card that had any significant movement this week was Emrakul the Promised End, jumping 4 tickets from 6 back up to 10. And again, this is a card that was pretty stable above that 10 ticket mark for several weeks before bottoming out around 5. Well, it's back up again due to Sultai Delirium in Pioneer, where Emrakul is a pretty solid win condition. I don't expect this card to drop back below 10 again anytime soon, or at least the amount of play it sees doesn't suggest that it would, but I also really don't get why it fell all the way down to 5 in the first place. This is a good card with a stable place in the Pioneer metagame, and it should be this valuable. If you want to talk about a card that's actually going up in price due to success in Pioneer as opposed to just rebounding from a price low, let's talk about Deputy of Detention. The card only gained about 2.5 tickets this week, jumping from 5 to about 7.5, but Deputy's price chart is still pointed straight up and it definitely has more room to grow. Deputy of Detention is still a standard legal card, but it sees almost no play in that format. Instead, it is spiking because of Bant Spirits, a highly successful Pioneer deck that runs 4 deputies in the sideboard. I don't think the sky is the limit here or anything, but the deputy could easily hit 10 or 12 at some point due to the play it sees in this deck alone. Over in Modern, things actually seem to be picking up for the first time since October or so. Other than a small 1-week bounce in the wake of the Opal and Oko bannings, the Modern Index has been pretty close to dead for a while. Now, I don't know if this is actually the start of a new upward trend, or it's just a few cards getting a little bit frisky, but it was nice to see a double-digit gainer this week, as Force of Negation jumped 15 tickets from 50 up to 65. Its price chart still appears to be on the rise, too. Now, Force of Negation has been a pretty solid barometer for Modern as a whole, but cards from Modern Horizons still have a high quirk potential due to how underprinted that set was on MTGO. So I'm going to need to see some non-Horizons cards really start rising before I can declare that Modern Season is actually here. This is a good start though. Our other big Modern riser this week was also from Modern Horizons. It's Ren N6, which gained another 5 tickets this week, jumping from 71 up to 76. Now, this is still less than 10% of Ren N6's total price tag, so I'm not going to read too much into what could just be the result of an algorithm reacting to an extra couple of sales. But the fact that this card has gained ground for a few weeks running now is a pretty good sign. I'm still a little gun-shy about buying into a 70-plus ticket card, but Ren N6 just has the potential for a casual single-day rally up to 150 tickets or so. So if you're in the market, at least consider snagging them now, just to prevent yourself from getting priced out in the future. Let's move on now to our biggest losers, where the Pioneer Index had kind of a lousy week. It wasn't just about these losers either. The fact that our 2 biggest Pioneer winners were just cards rebounding from inexplicable losses says a lot about how the market is faring right now. Overall, I'm a little bit surprised. We're coming off a series of high-profile Pioneer tournaments that actually went pretty well, and I would have thought we'd at least have seen modest gains this week. Now, the metagame is a bit combo heavy at the moment, but other decks are still playable, so overall this just continues a trend of MTGO prices being fairly soft to start 2020. At any rate, the biggest Pioneer loser of the week was Collected Company, which peaked at 17 tickets last week before dropping off to 12, a loss of 5 since the last time we talked about this card. Now, this happening despite Bant Spirits having a really solid week of events, and Collected Company remaining a clear staple in both Modern and Pioneer. Well, was it too much too fast? I mean, I guess so, at least with the Pioneer market feeling this soft overall. I really do think if more money was being poured into this format right now, this card would have fared a lot better. At any rate, Collected Company does appear to have hit equilibrium at 12, and it might actually start gaining ground again. So, I don't know, I feel like my Pioneer predictions have been a little off the mark lately, but I still think it's okay to buy Collected Companies now. Our other biggest loser of the week was Mana Confluence, which dropped another 3 tickets from 15 down to 12. Remember how I told you I'd try to let you know when this card hit bottom so you could buy in? Well, I think we're here. This card's price chart actually seems to be creeping up again, and I have high hopes for a Pioneer staple that has already broken the 30 ticket mark twice over the past several months. Mana Confluence might not pay off right away, but it's one of the safest buys in Pioneer right now, and I'm definitely grabbing a couple of sets for myself. Moving on to our sneak of the week, and this week's sneak is Misty Rainforest, a card that's been as low as 6 tickets and as high as 17 tickets in recent months. Misty was just an 8-ticket card at the start of February, but it's been gaining a ticket or 2 a week for the past couple of weeks, and now it's at 12 and continuing to rally. Will Misty Rainforest hit that 17 ticket mark again, or could it climb even higher? Well, that will depend on whether we're actually seeing the start of a modern rally here on MTGO, or if this week's gains were just a little bit of noise in the system. If you're on the fence, I'd still grab these fetch lands now. Worst case, you might have to wait a few months before your purchase actually pays off. As always, let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a really good idea of which cards are the most popular on Magic Online right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, it was an even better week than last for our old pal Thoughtseize. The card continues to be the glue that holds Pioneer together, and it was the overall best-selling card of the week, other than the 5 basic lands on Magic Online. Not the best-selling rare of the week, the best-selling card of the week. And you'd think that this continued week-over-week rallying would lead to a price increase, but no, Thoughtseize actually dropped about a ticket in value this week. And honestly, friends, I don't get it. I really do believe that this card will spike at some point, but I don't know when, and its movement seems fairly divorced from its robust sales figures. All I can really tell you is that Thoughtseize is an elite Pioneer staple by play percentage, and its sales figures also back that up. maybe its price will eventually reflect that status as well. In terms of overall sales by price, our winner this week was actually Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, which has been one of Pioneer's biggest breakout cards over the past couple of weeks. Not only did it help create the Niv to Light decks back in late January, but it is a 4-oven Sultai Delirium and Sultai Inverter, which is a much more ramp-focused approach to the Dimir Inverter combo plan. Uro actually did gain about 2.5 tickets this week, ticking up from 51.5 up to 54, which was not enough to make one of the gaining ground lists, but it came pretty close. Regardless, it is a very safe hold right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in the 60 to 70 ticket range once Theros Beyond Death isn't being drafted anymore. Uro is definitely in that Teferi and Arclight Phoenix camp of current set mythics with crazy high ceilings, and if you're waiting for it to crash, well, I don't think that crash is coming anytime soon. And that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.